So it's been a month since I've gotten my iPhone XS Max, and over the month of using the phone, I've come to learn things about it, I've come to understand it more, and overall I just wanted to share what my experience has been in this 1 month. So starting off, I want to talk about what the entire upgrade process was like, what the build up to buying this phone was like. So I've been expecting, pretty much the phone was leaked the entire way by the time the event keynote happened, so there weren't too many surprises. That is one thing that I'm kind of annoyed about. All these smartphones nowadays, they're just so leaked that nothing's ever a surprise, and that's the case with this phone. Nothing surprising. It was pretty standard. We got our three phones, the XR, the XS, and the XS Max, and the XS Max is the most expensive of them all. Now, in terms of a difference from the iPhone X I was using, there isn't much, so the upgrade was fairly drama-free. Not that interesting, to be honest. There wasn't anything that got me very excited about it. Obviously, it's a new phone, so that excitement was there, but there was no new feature or no new thing that was like, yes, I want this phone because of that. Last year was that AMOLED display. That got me riled up. The year before that, I really loved the dual camera implementation. This year, it's okay. I can understand what's going on, but still not that much of an excitement in terms of the actual product. So when the phone came right out of the box, the main thing I noticed was how heavy this phone is. And then I did some research. So this is the most heavy iPhone ever made by Apple. So the second heaviest was the iPhone 8 Plus I used last year. That came in at 202 grams. This is 208 grams. And that's a pretty big jump from the iPhone X, and it's fairly noticeable. Not to mention the size as well. This is a very, I'm gonna say, uncomfortable phone to use in certain situations. This is definitely not meant for everybody, the size, the way the screen is and everything. So that's something that did hit me, that while I can live with it, I'm fairly certain that a lot of people would not like this extreme extent of the size. And talking about that size, the one thing that does bug me is that even though the display is so much bigger, Apple is not using it in any special way. It's just a scaled up version of the iPhone X. There's a few apps where if you tilt it sideways, you get a preview here and then the main content here, but that's only a couple of system apps and nothing really beyond that. I really don't think that if you're buying the XS Max to kind of use the display because of its large size, that's something you'll be disappointed by, because it's just scaled up from everything else. The only real place where that display would be effective is video watching, in my experience. I'm sure that there will be some other people who say that there's something better, but everything else I just feel is scaled up and blown up to size. That's not something I'm very impressed with. And talking about that display, let's talk about Face ID. So Face ID is fairly, it's similar to what it was last year. As you guys know, if you watched my other video, I told you guys, Face ID was just a horror story for me when it came out. As time went on, I got more and more okay with it, but still, Face ID is almost just the same speed. It's probably a fraction of a second quicker than the 10. I tried keeping both phones and unlocking them side by side. Not that big of a difference. So if you're buying it because of faster authentication, don't, because that really isn't what's happening here. And the accuracy remains about the same in my opinion. My brother can still unlock this phone, and I'm fairly certain that it will fail the twins test as well if I actually got to test it out. So talking about Face ID, how can we not talk about the camera? So the camera on the front is still pretty disappointing in my opinion. It's not good in low light. The image is so cropped in, so you really have to extend the phone out very far to get a good field of vision behind you. Not very good, especially comparing to some of the other phones where it's just ridiculous. Taking selfies on the iPhone is my least favorite task because it just does not, comparing it to some of the other devices, it is not good. Then moving on, let's talk about that rear camera. The rear camera is what surprised me. I expected the usual jump that Apple was always claiming, but this time the jump is really good. It picks up the similar technologies Pixel 2 implemented with the image processing, taking multiple pictures, piecing them together to make one final image that's very good looking. It works great. I love the the way it's working out. I've tried taking a lot of photos with it, and it has not disappointed me, to say the least. Portrait mode, it has definitely improved, especially on the front-facing camera. Last year on the iPhone X, it was garbage, seriously really bad. This year, it's improved. I'm not going to say it's good, because it's still, I think, in certain aspects, cannot come close to the Pixel on the front camera. But the rear camera, I'd say it's there. It's not that far off. And all it comes down to what kind of final image result you prefer. Moving on, let's talk about performance. So performance has been extremely good. So it's an Apple product, it's a new iPhone. The performance is obviously going to be good. It blazes through apps. I've never had any crashes, which is pretty surprising because with newer phones, generally you have some crashes, some bugs. This one has been fairly smooth, and I think iOS 12 is a big reason for that. iOS 12 has been amazing. It's been a very smooth update, and it has made even the older phones a lot faster. So this phone is definitely blazing through. However, I will let you guys know, in all honesty, it does not feel much faster than the iPhone 10. So if you're coming from an iPhone 10, I bet you won't be able to tell the difference because honestly, there just isn't too much of a difference. And from performance, let's talk about that battery life. So battery life has been finally decent for me. So let's talk about that decent. So decent in the sense that I've been able to get through most days with one charge. So I unplug in the morning and I can get throughout the day. There are still days where I need to charge up about 5, 6 p.m. On heavy usage days. I'm okay with that, but most of the times it does pull through the entire day. So definitely a big improvement coming from my iPhone 10 because that was just a 2 to 3 times a day charge minimum. Sometimes just I would use it in charge because it kind of wasn't that big of a battery. So battery performance has been satisfactory for me. And I'm an extremely heavy user, so I'm not going to be the best comparison point for everybody. So I think this is probably going to be an excellent battery life for most people. And if you're a very light user, you're probably going to get 2 days out of it instead of 1. And speaking about battery life, the 5-watt brick that comes in, so there is no fast charger in the box. We've spoken about it. We know it's not there. You're forced to buy that fast charger if you want to separately. And I think that in this case, especially for the XS Max, you need to buy it. The battery capacity is pretty big, and even with the fast charger, it takes time. I mean, comparing it to the iPhone 10 when I use it on the fast charger, it was pretty much 1% in less than a minute. So in 30 minutes, you could get way more than 30%, and I've tested it before. This is, it's close, but it's not that quick, and that's because of the larger capacity battery. But when you do it on a 5-watt charger, which I only tried once, and that was because I was trying to figure out what this charge gate is, it was pathetically slow. Like it blew my mind how crappy the inbox charging is. So definitely either my suggestion is get the iPad charger if you don't want to spend as much money and you can still use the USB that comes in the box, or pick up that fast charger if you're using the phone a lot and you want quick charges, because that will definitely be a very important aspect to charging. And rounding things off, some random thoughts. The speakers, amazing. I love them. They're about the same quality as the iPhone 10 was, but they do sound so much louder. I really, really think that Apple has outdone themselves with the speakers. I haven't tested the Pixel 3 yet, so I don't know how much better that is or is not. But I can tell you the speakers on this are amazing. I usually use them at like half volume or sometimes lower than half volume because that's how loud it gets. So definitely a great upgrade in terms of the speaker. And there's one more thing that I want to cover, and that is the fact that, you know, Apple is it was weird because Apple said dual SIM functionality. So dual SIM in the sense you get one physical SIM, one eSIM. eSIM, electronic SIM, that doesn't work with every carrier. It only works with certain carriers. But the thing that got me was I kind of expected the way they were speaking about it was that you'd get it immediately with the phone. So you could pop the phone out of the box right now and you'd have that dual SIM functionality. However, it's actually not enabled yet. It's going to be enabled in a future update, which they didn't mention at all, which kind of bothered me. And even if they did mention it, I did not get it. I was like, I completely missed out on that note. But I'm telling you, that kind of disappointed me because I was kind of expecting to try that out and see how that works out. And the fact that you have to wait more, that's something you keep in mind. I don't like that Apple does that. Either don't tell people that it's happening, or if it's happening, have it ready to go when you kind of sell the phones, because that is a pretty decent size like feature that you're kind of withholding here. It's going to come out pretty soon, but at the time of filming this, it's not out. And same with the Apple Watch is ECG. The Series 4 still does not have ECG. That's going to come in a future software update as well. But coming to an end with this, the entire experience has been, I think the word that I used previously was decent, and I'm going to stick to that. So this has been a decent experience. Coming from the iPhone 10, it's been good with performance. There hasn't been any issues, no bugs. The performance has been satisfactory. The camera is a great upgrade and definitely worth it if you're coming from anything besides an iPhone 8 Plus or an iPhone 10. Definitely worth that jump. And just overall, I think that it is a solid upgrade. It's just, when you look at it, comparing it to the iPhone 10, it's definitely not going to look like a solid upgrade. And that's the point. The iPhone XS was not made for the iPhone 10 owners. The iPhone XS is made for people on the 7 Plus, 6S Plus, and all the phones before that, because those are the users they kind of want to upgrade, because they know that they're going to be willing to kind of upgrade if they give you the right things. And with having the third large display option with the XS Max, you're pulling in the people who had the Plus model phones. Now they could be interested in, hey, I have a large display phone, I want that. And that looks like something, that's pretty good. So overall, I think this has been a, good upgrade for Apple. I'm still kind of waiting to see the dual SIM features and all that, but right now, I'm okay with the phone. There's nothing very good to say about it. There's nothing very bad to say about it. And I think that coming from last year, because last year at the same point with my iPhone X, I was still pissed at it. There were so many things I didn't like. There were so many issues, so many bugs. But this year, it's been a very smooth upgrade. And if you are thinking about getting the XS or XS Max, I think it is a very good choice and you should definitely jump on it. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. And if you enjoyed the content, I would appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel and follow me on social media. I have all the links down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.